Samwise Gamgee is one of my favourite characters from the Lord of the Rings films. He's portrayed expertly by Sean Astin, and a lot of people, including Peter Jackson, think that Astin should have won an Oscar for his portrayal of Sam in the movies. In this video, we're going to get into how Sam represents hope and courage specifically in the movies, because this is a movie channel. Before we get into this week's topic, can I ask that you guys leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, because it sure does help out. Now, let's get into it. Since this is Tolkien reading day, I thought I'd share a few words about the great man himself, J.R.R. Tolkien. Tolkien is essentially responsible for my childhood. Tolkien wrote the books and built the world that Peter Jackson would later turn into blockbuster movies. Those movies played such a big part in shaping my interests and shaping who I am as a person. I spent hours and hours of my youth just watching Lord of the Rings. I can't express how much these movies mean to me. They're essentially my Star Wars. And what I mean by that is a lot of people in older generations talk about how the original Star Wars trilogy is the greatest trilogy ever and shaped how they view cinema. Lord of the Rings was the first franchise I ever truly got into and ever truly loved. So as much as we're going to talk about the movies in this video, I just wanted to quickly give a shout out to Tolkien for the amazing world that he built and for pretty much being the genius that he is, and also for creating a character like Sam, who, as we're about to get into, is such an amazing character and is basically the embodiment of loyalty, hope and courage. And let's not forget, Frodo wouldn't have gotten far without Sam. So today, the day that marks the destruction of the Ring of Power, let's talk about a character who is integral to helping Frodo on his quest. Let's talk about how Sam represents hope and courage in The Lord of the Rings. I just want to kick things off with a paragraph that I found on a website called Stack Exchange. I just think it sums up Sam as a character extremely well. Here it is. Sam is heroic precisely because he doesn't think he is a hero, or ever could be. He is all the things he thinks he is not. He thinks he is stupid, when in fact he is wise. He thinks he is weak, when in fact he is incredibly strong. He thinks he is a coward, when he has unparalleled courage. He thinks he is a burden, when he is actually the driving force behind Frodo's mission. He thinks he does everything wrong, when in fact he is the reason the quest doesn't go off the rails. After reading that paragraph, it made me visualize all the moments from the movies where Sam shows just how brave he is and just how much courage he actually has. There's 3 moments I want to talk about where I feel Sam really shows how he represents hope and courage. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down those moments and talk about how Sam really shows his bravery in those situations. But before we do that, I just want to quickly mention when Frodo and Sam are beginning their journey and Sam says, if he takes one more step, it'll be the furthest from home he's ever been. This moment always resonated with me because Frodo always dreamed of doing something more. He often wished that he was off with Bilbo on one of his adventures. Frodo's a dreamer, but for Sam, he's literally stepping into the unknown. Just like Bilbo says, it's a dangerous business leaving your door. And I always got the impression from Sam that he was happy with the simple life, the Shire life. So taking the ring to Rivendell, which is all he thought it was going to be at that point, was a massive step out of his comfort zone, and it says a lot about the character of Sam. And for someone who was quite happy to live a simple life, it was a big step forward for his character and a sign of things to come. Okay, so there's a litany of moments over the trilogy where Sam displays hope and courage, but the 3 moments that I'm going to talk about are probably the most iconic. The first moment I want to talk about comes at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring, and Sam tells Frodo that he made a promise he's not leaving his side. I mean, talk about pulling on your heartstrings. Sam can't even swim. He's willing to risk life and death to keep his promise he made. In times when Frodo doesn't know who he can trust, Sam is going to be the person that Frodo can lean on the most. And again, that's why Sam is such a great character. He's willing to die to make sure that Frodo destroys the ring. Sam is just a regular guy. Sam is us, just completely out of his depth and in way over his head, but god damn it is he resilient. Just before the Fellowship set out from Rivendell, Elrond says that none of them need to go any further than they feel like they have to. But it's out of loyalty to his friend that Sam takes it all the way. Even in the later films when Frodo is being corrupted by the ring, Sam's loyalty to Frodo can never be called into question. Sam sticks by Frodo right till the very end, even though Frodo sometimes isn't the best guy to be around and doesn't necessarily treat Sam with respect. Sam knows that whenever Frodo lashes out, it's not his friend talking, it's the ring. Not only is Sam displaying loyalty to Frodo, but patience too. And that's super evident in the next moment that I want to talk about. In my notes for this next entry, I just wrote the speech. And I think everybody watching this video knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. In my opinion, Sam's speech in The Two Towers is one of the greatest film speeches of all time. Now, that sounds like a pretty big call, but if you take a look at the context behind the speech, Frodo has taken just about everything he can take up until that point. He's almost killed Sam. He's almost handed the Ring of Power over to the enemy, and the journey's not nearly over yet. The last line of the speech is a killer for me. They're holding on to hope because they have literally nothing else to hold on to. I think at this point they're starting to realise that the journey will probably claim their lives, and hope is all they've got to hold on to. Hope that against all odds, these two hobbits from the Shire who never stood a chance can save Middle-earth and return to their quiet lives, and Sam is there to remind Frodo of who he is, remind him that maybe just as long as they have each other, they can pull off this seemingly impossible feat. Sam believes that they have to keep fighting for everything that's good in the world. The emotion this speech brings out in me is unbelievable. Like I said, I genuinely do believe that this is one of the greatest film speeches in history, and honestly one of the best moments in the trilogy. If I was looking for a moment to show somebody to say, hey, this is how Sam represents hope and courage, I'd show them this, because everything you need to know about the emotional and physical battle that Sam and Frodo have gone through, it's in this speech, and it's truly a shining moment for the character of Sam, and like I said, one of the best speeches of all time. Okay, so the final moment that I want to mention is in The Return of the King, and it's when Sam tells Frodo that he can't carry the ring, but he can carry him. I mean, after everything, Frodo holding a sword to Sam's throat, sending him away. At times during the journey, he makes him feel like he's not wanted, makes him feel like he doesn't understand. And they've made it. They're on the brink of completing their journey, and it doesn't look like Frodo's going to be strong enough to do it. So Sam perseveres again, and literally picks up Frodo and takes him over the line. Sam is the steady hand that Frodo needed all along. Sam never gave up on his friend, and to me, Sam is the ultimate underdog, completely out of his depth, doesn't really belong in the position that he's found himself in. He's no great warrior, but one thing he does have is heart, and sometimes that's all you need. And the moment when he says to Frodo, then let us be rid of it. Talk about a moment to give a character a standing ovation. Samwise Gamgee is the embodiment of loyalty, hope, and courage, and to me, like many others have said in the past, he is the hero of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He is the heart of these movies. Sorry if this got a bit rambly, I was just trying to contain my passion for these films because man, I love them so much, and I love the character of Sam. He's definitely one of my favourites. If you want to see more Lord of the Rings content on my channel, I made a behind the scenes series that covers the politics and the drama that went into making the Peter Jackson films. Part 3 is coming very soon, so now would be a perfect time to check the previous parts out. I'll link them above. I also talk about comic book movies and Star Wars and all that good stuff, so if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider taking a look and hitting the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching this video. You can follow me on Twitter here, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.